Hi, this is Karen from the Huntley Library, and today on 12 Days of Craftin', we're going to be making alternative gingerbread houses. I'm going to introduce you to some of the supplies you can use for your house, and we'll get started. You're probably familiar with the traditional gingerbread house, where you use either gingerbread or graham crackers to construct a house, and then you use candy and things like that to decorate it. I was thinking about doing that, but I've made several of those in the past, and I never feel like eating them. It's like too much sweet for me. And usually make them around the holidays too, and there's a lot of other more delicious dessert options. So I started looking for other ideas to make alternative gingerbread houses, and I came across a lot of really cool things. People are super creative when it gets to making things out of food. So one of the things I found was this veggie lodge, and there are very specific instructions online if you're interested in following them and making something that looks exactly like that. You can see from some of the photos all of the steps that are involved. So you could work in vegetables. You could do something that's more savory and use different meats and cheeses like salami or pepperoni. Basically take apart one of your Lunchables and make it into a house. And it looks like they've used broken up crackers on here. You could just make a big cheese ball and shape it like a house and then stick things to it. So that's another option if you have those kinds of ingredients and that's the sort of thing you would like to eat. Here's another example of that. You can use breadsticks or pretzels. These people used rosemary to make a tree and to make some of these little bushes around the yard. And then there were mushroom snowmen that they used too, or you could use nuts to decorate, pretzels. All of those are good options. And then here's another one on the same sort of theme. They made a little door out of cheese. There's a broccoli hedge. There's a sled made out of red pepper and looks like maybe green pepper too, but you could use asparagus or green beans. This little snowman is made out of mozzarella cheese, and then they did Parmesan cheese for the snow in the yard there. So very creative. You can glue your savory or your vegetable houses together with cream cheese, or I've heard hummus works really well, or if you want to make like a cheese ball I mentioned before, you could use that. I am going to be working in vegetables today, so I'm going to be doing something similar to the veggie lodge that I showed you first. And I have carrots and celery that I've started to prepare, and I'm going to try using hummus to get it all to stick together. So I will show you some of my supplies. Here's what I have prepped for my alternative gingerbread house or my veggie lodge. I have some hummus here that I'm going to use for glue. I also have cream cheese. If the hummus doesn't work, that is another option. If you are creative or used to using a pastry bag for piping, you might want to use your hummus or your cream cheese in that for putting on or for gluing things together. It'll make it look neat. You can do decorations with that too. I'm going to just try it by hand and by spreading it today, so you can follow along with me if you don't have a piping bag. I have some garlic and alfalfa sprouts that I'm going to try and use as sort of a thatched roof on my veggie lodge. That way hopefully I don't have to construct a very complicated roof. And then I have carrots and celery that I chopped up already. For these, if you're going to actually eat what you make, you probably want to wash your vegetables first, and then you can peel your carrots. Here's a vegetable peeler. You could also use the curls that you get off of these or make curls out of them to do something else with your house. This would probably make a nice roofing material also. And for the celery, I washed that and cut it into pieces that are roughly the same size. These are maybe about 7 inches long. The carrots are probably about 5 or 6 inches long. And you can use those to construct your walls, doorways, rooftops, basically the body of your house. I also have some crackers too that I might use in some way, either as siding or maybe roofing material. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what happens when I get to that point. So we'll get started with the construction process here. I'm going to move my materials off to the side a little bit so I have some room to work. And I am going to construct my house on this pan here. This is just a pizza pan. So if you have something similar, you can use that. I recommend that whatever you construct your house on, you're either gonna use that to serve it or display it, or you can move it easily. So if you wanted to display your house on something else, you could maybe wrap a piece of thick cardboard in aluminum foil or something like that to make a base for it, just so that when you pick it up and move it around, there's not as much danger of it collapsing. I don't know how strong my construction is going to be, so I'm going to err on the side of caution in my house. In the instructions for the veggie lodges that I was looking at, they made their building pieces for the sides and rooftop out of celery and carrots, but they cut them like Lincoln logs. I don't know if you've played with those before, maybe when you were a kid. And the Lincoln logs are nice because they stack and then they sort of they fit into these notches that you can put into your pieces. So if you feel like taking the time to cut out little notches towards the end, like so, then your pieces might stay together even better than they would otherwise. I don't know that I'm going to do that. Let's try it and see how it looks. So I'll cut out some notches in this one. And it may be easier to notch them in places that it doesn't work as well to when you're stacking them. Like notching them on the side here is really easy, but I think it would be more stable if I stacked them flat like this. So let me just try this real quick and see what happens. Also, I seem to be really good at going too far with my knife here. So what do we get when we put the notches together? So that's what it would look like notched. I'm not convinced that that's going to help my construction any, so I'm not going to notch any more of them. I am just going to use them as is. So after you're done processing your vegetables, if you're using them, pick the ones that look the sturdiest and are maybe the most straight. Some of these that I have are kind of curvy, so those might work okay, but it'll definitely be a stronger construction if they can lay flat against one another. I'm going to open up my hummus here so that I can spread. So it's up to you how you want to do this and at what point you want to apply your glue. Sometimes it's easier to construct first and then pipe it on afterwards, or put it on with a knife afterwards, and it might be easier for you to use it as sort of like a mortar as you're going and building up your structure. And if you want to plan for doors and windows and stuff, that's going to be harder to do. It might just be easier. What I'm going to do is just build a box and then I will stick things on afterwards. So I'm not going to have any actual openings in the side of my house as I'm making it. And the hummus looks like it's pretty thick, so this should be okay to use as glue. All right, so I'll put that off to the side for a second, and then I will lay down a nice foundation for my house here. You definitely want to make sure that your tray or whatever you're building it on is big enough for your house so that it, like I was trying to use a plate before and it was just the sides were too slanted right where I needed them to be flat because my house was too big. So just be careful of that. Okay, so if I want this to stick right away, I could put some hummus there and there to act as my glue. And you could actually, if this is your base, you could glue the bottom pieces down too so that they don't move around. So we could do that as well. Put a little line of hummus there and say, you are staying there forever, because that's where I'm putting you. If you're fond of some kind of nut butters or seed butters, you could use peanut butter or almond butter or maybe tahini, which is sesame seeds, to glue your house together. That's a possibility. And I'm just trying to choose the orientation that's flattest as possible. You can see how this one is a little curvy. Okay, time for some more glue. You can fill in the chinks now. That's the air spaces between the pieces of celery, or you can leave them open. And you're just going to alternate building up your layers. So you'll have two going that way and then two going the opposite way. Now with the vegetable and cheese and meat ones, you're going to have to refrigerate them if you're not going to eat them right away. Unlike a lot of the actual gingerbread ones, which is candy, then most of the time those don't need to be refrigerated. But these definitely you do. I'm just going to keep building here for a while. What kinds of cool things have you guys found in your pantry and refrigerator to make your houses out of? I'm just so inspired by everything I see. Like, we do a edible books competition at the library every summer, and it's just kind of neat what people decide to use to make their edible books. That's another thing where you get to choose different foods to create different things. I made a little Yoda once out of a pepper and a bunch of other vegetables that kind of already look like Yoda. So definitely get inspired by what you see around you. If you're very particular and are a perfectionist, you could use a level to make sure that your house is all lined up properly and isn't going to sag in any one direction or another. I am not going to be that particular. We once had someone teach a class at the library on gingerbread house making, and she had a couple different styles of houses. So when people signed up for the program, they were able to pick the style of house that they wanted her to bring for them. And then she had all kinds of candies that she brought. A really good, if you are making a gingerbread house out of traditional things, a good time of year to get candy for it for decorating is right after Halloween, when everything goes on sale that they haven't sold for Halloween candy. You can pick up things on the cheap, and lots of them. So that's what she would do. So you'd have to schedule her for these programs like way back in the summer, and then she would bring all the materials in December or nearer to the holidays, the winter holidays, for people to make their houses. And it was a 2-day, like 4-hour class, so it went on for a really long time. But you could do it as a family, so that was a lot of fun, or as like a group project, as long as you don't argue over the decorations. And the houses are already cut out for you, and she had royal icing, so you got to do all of the gluing together of the pieces, and then the decorating would be the second class after you had put your initial house structure frame together. So it was very cool. I would like to do that again in the future. Hopefully we can do that again in the future. Alright, I'm going to build up my walls a little bit more, and then I will check back in with you, and we'll get started on the next part of this. Okay, we are back, and I have completed my basic house structure. So I don't know if you can see from I'm going to move this a little bit so you can see what the sides look like. And instead of filling in the sides with the hummus, like over in here, I cut more pieces of the celery, like the long pieces, I cut them in half or 3/4 length, and I stuffed them into the holes there. So that is what I'm going to do about the chinks in my walls for now, unless I come up with a better idea. So now I'm ready to put a roof on this. Roof time. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is make an X over the top there, and I'll put a little bit more hummus to secure that. So hopefully it won't go anywhere until I want it to. So there's one part of my roof support, and here's another part of my roof support. Oh, I should probably put a dot in the middle to keep that part from moving around. This could be messy, yeah? Okay. And then maybe we'll have some carrots as part of our roof support. What do you think? How can I incorporate my carrots? Maybe on the sides. Oh, I could just do a layer of carrots over everything. Perhaps. Like this? Yeah, that will probably work. And you can secure those too with hummus or whatever your glue is. I think I'm just gonna leave mine like that for now. And I'm gonna have a green roof and use those sprouts on top of it. So to get the sprouts to stick, I'm probably gonna need some of the hummus. And I'm gonna have to hold things down since I didn't bother to glue them. This probably would not stand up to code, by the way, so don't try this in actual construction. Only veggie lodges or alternative gingerbread houses. I am using quite a bit of hummus for this, so be sure to have something for your glue that you have in good supply, because you might need more of it than you think. Okay, let's get our green roof on there. Oh, cute. I actually had some trouble finding the alfalfa sprouts. My mom used to get these all the time when we were growing up, and so I'm familiar with them and have eaten lots of them in my lifetime. But when I looked for them at the store the other day, they didn't have them in the produce section, so I had to try another couple stores before I did find some. That looks nice. If you wanted to make some flowers or some other sort of plant-like things to go on your roof, you could use maybe radishes or something like that to make little flowers out of, or some orange peel or lemon peel. Those would make good flowers. Maybe not for a winter scene, but if you're thinking springtime, and like green stuff and vegetables make me think spring and summer, maybe that's something that you do want to do. So I'm making a side to the roof now with some shorter pieces of carrot that I have, and I'm just going to dip them one end in the hummus and then place it carefully up against my roof here. And hopefully they stay. Here's another piece. I'll do the same thing with that one. And I think I'll do that on the other side as well. Nice thing about this pizza pan is I can turn it pretty easily. Okay, I already have some pieces of carrot sticking out, so I don't know if this is going to work super well on this side. So I have my exposed roof beams right here. But maybe I can stick some in between. Yeah, maybe not that end. That end was a little pointy. So I'll push on it a little bit. There's another one. I might be able to do that on top of those. Whoops, carrot ends. Let's see how that looks. I'm gonna have to lean it into the roof though. You could put a chimney on here too, if you wanted to build the chimney along the side of the building. There's all kinds of things that you could do. Whoops, there goes another one. Maybe I'll put that in the corner. Okay, so there's kind of some crazy fencing going on up there. It'll keep the birds from nesting on my roof here. On this side of the house, I think I want to put a little door or a window, maybe. Let's see, I'm going to turn it around to this side again. This side, I have more room in the front of the house, so maybe I'll make this the door. And for that, I'm going to put some hummus on the back side of this carrot and then just stick it to the wall like that. We'll do that with a couple more pieces. And flatter is better if you can get that. Whoops. That is messy. Why do I choose all the messy things to do? That's a question I ask myself all the time. Even if it wasn't messy, I would somehow manage to make it messy. Okay, there's my door. And maybe I'll add a window on this side. You could use, if you still have carrots in their round pieces, you could cut off rounds of carrots and make little like hobbit windows or polka dots on the side of your house too. I made a window on the side of the house using the same method I used to put the door on over there. So I just took the whole carrot this time and wiped it through the the hummus to get a nice layer on there and stuck it right to the side there. So you can do the same kind of thing if you want to put some windows on yours and you're using vegetables. I'm going to make a little yard for my house out of cream cheese. So I've just got it on a spoon here, and then I will smear it out evenly or not so evenly. Here's where you could add some snow and some maybe stones for a path and some landscaping in your yard. You can really do as much or as little decoration as you want to with these. I just saw something where you can dry grapefruit and orange slices, and then the dried fruit is kind of transparent, so you could make like really cool stained glass windows out of something like that, or it could be a roofing material. I hadn't thought about working with dried fruit, but now that's like opening up a whole other realm of possibilities for me. And maybe it would be slightly less messy, I don't know. Definitely with the dried stuff you wouldn't have to worry about refrigerating it again. Or maybe you could make something like a birdhouse out of all kinds of bird-friendly materials. We're going to be doing another 12 days of crafting where we make bird feeders later on, so this could be another thing that you do for the birds. Spoiler alert, I am just gonna keep making the yard out of this, and you could do it with cream cheese, or if you're using hummus already and you have lots of hummus left over, you could keep going with your hummus for your yard. Just depends on what you would like to do. But it's gonna take me a little while to do this, so I'm gonna come back to you in just a little bit. I'm gonna add a little wood pile in the yard over here on the side, just made out of carrots. It took me a whole package of the cream cheese to make the yard here. If you're only eating this by yourself, I recommend making a smaller house and or a smaller yard. You could also make like a sled out of these little carrot chunks, or they'd make really cool siding, I think, if you chopped them into little pieces, and then if you had your walls completely hummused or whatever you're using for glue, you could just stick the little pieces in there. That would probably look really cool. Some people use a mold when they're making their houses. You can use like something to stick your walls to, like a box. You could put aluminum foil on that or plastic wrap or something so that it's not stuck exactly to that thing. Or people use pieces of foam board, so you could construct on top of the mold that you're using, and then assemble the pieces later on once they're a little bit more solid, dried. Okay, so there's my little wood pile on the side. And I decided to use my crackers to make a little path. So we'll just stick them right on top of the cheese there. Uh-oh. And we want our path to go to the wood pile so that it's nice and clear for winter. So there we go. So you can see I only used a few ingredients to make my alternative gingerbread house. Mostly vegetables, a few crackers. Hopefully you found some cool things to construct yours out of. I'd be interested to see pictures of what you guys create, particularly because everything inspires people differently. Uh-oh, my window is falling. Prop up your windows if you haven't built things to code like me. And enjoy eating these. I hope you do find them delicious as well as artistically pleasing. Thanks for joining me for this installment of 12 Days of Crafting. I hope you'll check out some of our other videos and fun ideas and events on our website, www.huntleylibrary.org.